Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to do a basing of that stone house we built in our last episode. So my original vision for this project was to have kind of like a farmstead and like a stoned in property that this house was living on. And that's really what I wanted to focus on in this episode. I really kind of had Fire in the Frontier in the back of my mind. That's the new expansion for Blood and Plunder coming out, and I figured this piece of terrain would fit in there nicely. And I didn't have a lot of North American kind of terrain, but the way I built it, it could be European. It definitely could be fantasy, and again, making a versatile piece of terrain. So let's take a look at the finished product and take a look at what we're building in this episode. So you can see the house. We've already built that in our last episode. But in this episode, we're going to cover building this entire base here. So we got stone walls. I built this stairwell going into the, this front gate here. All this plant life we added. I got a wagon there with hay in it. We got a little shelter over here where we got his firewood. There's a chopping block there. Kind of some scatter terrain that I made as well for this project. Really happy how this tire tracks went over here on the kind of like a driveway, a pathway into the property. Overall, really happy with the way this finished, and can't wait to get down to the table and show you how I built it. Alright, so if you guys like what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information of when I complete these kind of projects. Alright everyone, let's get down to the table and let's start painting and let's start crafting. Okay, I started with this wagon or ox cart by Foreground. These miniatures, it's kind of scatter terrain. It's available on the Firelockgames store site there. They have a whole bunch of variations, so I thought this would be perfect for this farmstead. I didn't really want to build my own wagon, so I bought one of these kits. And I wanted to try it out, one of these MDF kits. And it came out pretty good. I just used some white glue, followed the instructions, slapped it together. I did have actually two options, so I could change the wagon in two different ways, an ox cart or more of a spoked wheeled wagon. So then I moved on to making bricks, as I always do. These were chunk bricks, so it kind of matched the stone house. Put them in the coffee tin and shaked them all up and get that texturized look to them. So then I had this piece of insulation foam, and I was kind of planning how this whole property was going to look. I kind of wanted to drive up, so kind of where the wagon kind of pulls up to the side of the house. I want to stone it all out like a stone wall all the way around it. And I wanted to build some stairs. So I just used that X-Acto blade and kind of carved this out of the foam and shaped the way I wanted. Checked it out with the built wagon here to see if everything looks great. And then I kind of just carved the edges and texturized it with tinfoil. And then I moved into I built this kind of it's kind of dollar store foam board, and it's really kind of a center to my stone wall. And really, it's just somewhere to glue the stones to. You could just glue the stones all individually, but I find that they don't come out quite straight. And it's hard to actually, especially if you have random shaped size stones, it's better to glue them to that frame that you put out already. So you can see that this is kind of not quite finished, but I've just shown you where I'm at. I kind of made the walls and made sure, like I always do, measure them out with the minis. Check it out to see if it fits properly. Even checked out with the guys crouching down a little bit more. And they both fit really well, so I know I had the right height for my stone walls. I always make sure that the terrain is playable when I'm building these things. All right, so then I decided to I wanted to build a covered, kind of like a shed kind of thing to hold your firewood in. And I took a bunch of popsicle sticks and kind of cut them up into little fragments. So because I wanted to have it look like it's chopped up wood. So here's it all completed. I framed it out with balsa wood first, and then I just covered it with those popsicle sticks that I kind of just broke up with a pair of pliers, just so it gives it a more rustic look. It looks like it was scrap wood that he put it together with. And then I plan on making a bundle of logs. So it looks like he cut his firewood and stuck them into this shed. A lot of these country houses would have these kind of sheds to keep their firewood somewhat dry to burn through out the winter season. So here's my pile. These are just dowels and some piece of balsa wood. I used my crafting or hobby knife there, and I just kind of roughed them up so they don't look round like a dowel. They look more like chopped wood. And then I used tacky glue. I'm just showing you with my hand that I made it into kind of a pyramid stack. And I didn't end up, like I glued them together, but I didn't glue it inside that shed. I figured maybe I could use these as separate pieces of terrain, scatter terrain and other kind of games and whatever. So I kind of didn't want to glue it together and commit that way. So even right through the whole project, I leave these two loose. But I'm just showing you where I'm planning on putting it. Okay, so the next step that I did was use egg cartons. So egg cartons are a great resource if you want texturized stones or paving stones. You could do a whole castle wall really with these. These are a great material. I think I've only shown this once in a previous episode, but I really like to use these for paving stones. That texture on them holds great to paint. So I just used white tacky glue, glued them on, made a pathway to the doorway. So then I made this door. I wanted to make it kind of a gate at the top of the stairs. And that's just a dollar store foam board. And that little, I don't know, medallion or a piece of jewelry I found at Michael's. So as you know, I like to raid the Michael's jewelry department. There's all sorts of interesting things in there. And I kind of just wanted, here's the package for it. And I just like to want to do something a little more to that door than just have it a plain wooden door. So I just put that kind of crest in there. And as you can see, I used a couple pieces of matchsticks to kind of look like hinges. And then that's pretty much the door here. So then I started to address this wagon. Now, I always had plans on putting like a haystack in it. But my teddy bear fur here is pretty flat on the bottom. And when you paint it, as you've seen in the other video for the stone house, it gets pretty flat. So I decided to glue a piece of insulation foam underneath it, just so it wraps around in a round shape. So it gives a little more body to that teddy bear fur that's in there. So then I added to some more teddy bear to this whole piece. And this is going to be kind of like long grass. In the frontier or the prairies here, they would have a lot of long grass. So I wanted to add that in there. So then I kind of made this axe and like a cutting block that I wanted to have another piece of scatter terrain next to where the stack of wood is. So I kind of just glued that together with some insulation foam, balsa wood, dowels, just a few pieces. So just showing you the water as usual. We're going to move to some drywall compound again. So just showing you that popsicle stick there. What I'm planning on doing is I want to smooth out that driveway or pathway, and I wanted to put kind of like imprints like a wagon's been in through there. So I really wanted to put some like tracks and stuff in there, like the wagon's been in and out of that position several times. So I'm going to lay this drywall compound down on it, smooth it out everywhere I want it to be on this piece. This also adds, as I mentioned before in previous episodes, it adds some little texture to your terrain pieces. So you don't just have like a flat foam. I used a tinfoil ball and added a little bit of texture to it. But this will add a lot more texture to it. It'll maybe give it a little more realistic look. So I'm really just using my finger and just really smooth it out. I add water. So that's why I have that pickle jar with water in there. And that just allows me to smooth out the drywall compound. So I'm planning on going right up where that stone walkway is, and a little bit into where the logs are stored in that covered shed there. I just figured that would be a more muddy area, a well-traveled spot, so it would be worn down and a little mucky. So to achieve that, that's why I've gone to this drywall compound. All right, so moving on, I'm just going to show you, this is kind of the areas that I've done. So before it started to dry, so obviously it's going to turn white when it dries fully, so we want to make sure we do this before that happens. So as soon as you're done laying it in, take that popsicle stick. And the reason why I really use this is because it's a similar width to the wheel that's on that wagon. So it looks like the wagon could have actually made these tracks. And I'm just kind of making several tracks in here. So kind of more separated where the wheels would be, but I kind of make it so it looked like it might have turned around and moved up and down different sides of it. So I made quite a few tracks in there. So it looks like it's been up and down this hill a few times. Just showing you, and I make it fairly deep. I want to go right down to the bottom, so it's deep. I plan on filling it with a few other things. So I'm just showing you, I kind of measured it out with that wheel, just to show you that that's kind of what I was going for. But that popsicle stick is a very similar size and width to the wagon wheel. All right, so now we're going to let, this is after it's fully dried. So now it's hardened in the shape that we created. So when you're doing that shaping, make sure you're happy with the end result. And then because once it dries, it's kind of stuck that way. You're not going to be able to change it. So just showing you all the different components we have completed here. And just showing you them individually. So they're all done now. The scatter terrain and the base. So we're just about time to move to the paint. So of course we're going to start with my multi-surface black paint, full card craft paint here. And I'm going to cover everything. So including the teddy bear fur, all of it is going to be covered in this black craft paint. All the pieces of scatter terrain, even the wagon. I'm not going to leave it the color that it comes with, so I'm going to paint it. So I really like to paint absolutely everything so it looks like it belongs to the same world. I find if you leave things different state, it sticks out. It doesn't match the rest of your terrain piece. So I like to paint absolutely everything. So I'm just showing you I covered everything in the black paint. But I'm sure you can see. I'm just picking up everything and showing you that I covered it in black paint. And then we're going to move on to the next color. So I always use this real brown as my first undercoat. So I'm really priming all these pieces. And I will go with the real brown first. I'm just going to give you a brief showing you how I'm going to dry brush this on, just kind of tapping it on. Like I said, I've done this in several videos, so people have seen this technique before. But I'm just giving you a brief idea of what I'm going to do. And so I plan on using that same technique for all the other colors. So this is after I've already completed the real brown on there. And I'm going to move to the bark brown. Okay, I'm just showing you all the different pieces that I covered it all. Just emphasizing that I covered everything in that real brown. So this is the bark brown. It's a lighter brown, and this is Pueblo, the other kind of orange color. So these are the ones I always use to really prime my piece. And then I pointed to the stones. So I'm going to use that camel on the stonework, and I'm just showing you that. So I'm going to switch to the smaller dry brushes by Army Painter. I just showed you a mitt full of different size and shapes ones. But for the bark brown, I plan on using the bigger brush still. And then when I move into the other colors, I will be using the smaller dry brushes. I kind of worked my way down the brushes, start with the biggest ones and go to the smallest. Get to the tinier details. So this is after I've added all those colors and I've added the camel you can see to the paving stones and the pathway and all the stone walls. And I did a little bit on the stairs coming up too as well. But otherwise the rest of them have the brown coatings on there. I also added some camel to those, really the teddy bear fur. Like again, I'm just trying to make it into long grass. Added a little bit to the wagon. You can see I'm starting to lighten those up. I plan on putting a few colors on that teddy bear fur to make it look like hay or long, tall grass. So I'm going to the desert yellow, skeleton bone, necrotic flesh, and the mummy robe. So these are the 4 colors I usually use for my stonework. So I'm going to dry brush those in the same order I just showed you. I'm going to use my Army Painter dry brushes here, and I'm going to dry brush all that stonework with those colors. I'm really, I'm really happy with this particular formula of colors, and I'll probably continue using this going forward. It just seems I get the results I'm looking for. And really, if you want to go a little orange, you can just add a little more desert yellow. If you want to make it a little more white, add more a mummy robe. You can really change this in any which way you want. So, it's really just random and up to you how much you want to put of each color on there. But I kind of go less as I get brighter, essentially. Less paint as I get brighter. You don't need as much. All right, so now I've done all the stonework. I've added all those colors in. I did add a little bit of that desert yellow to that grass again, that teddy bear fur, just trying to get it to look more like dead old grass. And then I wanted to add... So then I added this skeleton horde. It's a contrast paint by Citadel. I really like that, the way it looks, and I added it to the hay in the cart, the long grass. And I did it on the stonework, on the stairs, a little bit on the door. Just kind of put it everywhere. Kind of gives it like a stained look in certain areas. So or maybe even some moss or something's growing onto the stones. I really like that color. So I'm just showing you that. So now I'm planning on moving to kind of put at the bottom of the stone a military shader, an army green. We got angel green, green skin. We got a whole bunch of different greens I'm using here. Commando green, snake scales. And really, I just kind of did a mixture of them. I actually put them all just on that plate there. And I plan on putting it on that grass, adding some green color to it. And I want to hit the bottom of the stones a little bit, emphasizing there might be a little bit of plant life growing. I also went to the scatter terrain too and added it as well. So to the shed in the back and the chopping block. As you can see here, this is like after I've added a bunch of green to these pieces. So that tall grass is really coming to life now with all those different colors added on. And here I put a little bit on the shed on the bottom just so and emphasize. I am going to put a little bit of flocking on there too, but I just wanted to add a little bit of green paint on there. So I'm just showing you what I added it to. Yeah, there's some more. I put it on that chopping block. So now I'm going to address the wood, and I wanted to age the wood. So I'm going to go to this Morfang Brown by Citadel. There is the dark stone and necromancer cloak. So there's a couple grays and a really bright brown. And I'm going to hit all the woodwork on here. So the door, this shed, of course the cart, the logs that are in the shed, the handle of that axe that's in the chopping block, And then just showing you gunmetal. There's a few pieces of gunmetal, like the end of the axe, some of the parts on the wheels of the wagon, the hinges on the door, that door detail, just a few areas that I hit. And then I went to this bright yellow, basilic brown to brighten up the hay. And then I went to a gloss varnish. And really what I want to do is go into the indentations there and make it look like it's wet, like there's water in there. So that gloss will stay shiny, and that's why I wipe that into there. Gives it a real wet feel to that mud. So this is after I've added all those colors I just showed you on the woodwork. Just kind of giving you an overall look of that. I've added it to this wagon. Just kind of give it different colors all over the wagon. Just gives it a more aged wood look. Did it to the axe handle, that piece of wood that the axe is chopping into. Then, of course, I've added it to the shed, giving it lots of different multi-colors to it, making it look like an aged. And then I had this, I used one of those extra wheels that actually came with that cart kit. I plan on just sticking that in front of the house. And there's the pile of firewood. So now I'm going to treat the wood one more time with some black and white. And I've done that in the bridge build, and where I just kind of darkened the stones a little bit. So after that was all done, that's pretty much the end of the paint. Now it's time to move to plant life. So I'm just showing you I have all sorts of different products. I'm not going to go to all of them, but I got the field grass, steppe grass that I kind of mixed together, flockings. I got my battleground, kind of the rocks that I put down first. I got assorted different, like different bushes here. I got lots of different tufts. I'm using those resin flowers that I mentioned in the previous episode to really add a lot of plant life to this project. So then I plan on sticking it with tacky glue. All right, so this is after I have stuck all the plant life in there. So that really tall green grass that's there, that's actually some other stuff I found from Michael's. They sell that separately. And I just cut it into smaller bits and actually just glued it to the bottom just to add a little bit more to the grass. So the teddy bear fur was pretty good already, but I wanted to add a little bit more. And you can see I added those flowers, and I'm just showing you all the different pieces. There's the chopping block and wood over there. The wagon really looks like it's sinking in that mud there that it travels on. And just showing you the overall finished product here. So this is all done, all complete. So let's take one more pass through it. Let's take a look at the final finished project. We got our French Canadians here and native warriors defending this farmhouse against the British invaders. So we got our British regulars here invading this farmstead. All right, so if you guys like what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information on when I start these projects. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.